Let's go. All
Right?
right, here we go. Welcome back to Success from Day One, powered by Day One Experts, where we talk about what actually works when you're trying to grow something that lasts. I'm your host, Super Dave Quinn, and I want to say this up front. Most communities say they support small businesses, but if you look close, the majority of the business owners really aren't using the programs built for them. That's kind of a problem because the smallest businesses, the ones most people overlook, are the ones actually holding Main Street together. So today's guest has been in the middle of that gap for a very long time. Marci Goodwin is the co-founder of SmartStart Business Development, and for the past 15 years, she's been helping entrepreneurs actually start and grow businesses, especially the ones that traditional systems tend to miss. After seeing firsthand how most support programs fail to reach micro businesses, she helped build a model that lowers the barrier and meets people where they are. No fluff, no theory, just what works. So today we're digging into three things: why micro businesses matter more than most people realize, why your current programs aren't reaching them, and how you can turn empty storefronts into a real pipeline for local businesses. So, if you care about building a stronger local economy, this conversation matters. So, let's dive into it. Marci, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Dave. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. We love sharing what we do here at Smart Start. So, I'm going to get a little passionate about the teeniest businesses you're probably not even thinking about in your community. So, do you want
Those
me
are
to
the
just
guys
share?
we love, guys and gals that we love, right? We love
Right.
those folks because they tend to be most passionate about whatever it is they're doing.
Yes, they're the ones that when we think about, your what makes your town great, what makes a main street great, it's the teeny tiny businesses. There's no box store. You don't go to a main street for a box store. You don't go to a community because they have an awesome large employer. You're going because they have the mom and pop businesses, the owners, your friends and neighbors that own the ice cream shop on Main Street, that own the boutique, the coffee shop, the hair salons. Those are the people that to make your communities great and make people want to stay there.
Yeah, it's that slice of Americana, right? That we're all kind of
Right.
chasing, like what we think about. And so, we got an opportunity to visit when we were out in Montana. I saw a
Yeah.
presentation. I thought, hey, I think our folks could really benefit from this. So I'm happy to have you on and excited to dive into your presentation.
Great. Well, thanks. Shall we just dive in
Yeah,
here?
go for it.
Okay. So when you think about, we just said, and when you think about your ideal Main Street, you think about, your diners, your plant stores. When we do a big presentation, I always ask people to dream up, close your eyes and think about that ideal Main Street. And then I have them like shout out answers. And it's funny, the top answers are always ice cream shop and bookstore. Every time.
Both those things make me very happy, so I can
Every
deal with that.
same. And so we you get the little like yoga studios and art galleries and things like that. And what I'm really looking for, they're in Longview, Texas. My daughter is actually, I live in Illinois. My daughter was raised here too. She lives in Longview, Texas. She's actually a zookeeper in Tyler, Texas.
Oh,
And
sweet.
they had this shop, or they did have, I don't know if it's still there, but it was like the coffee shop and bookstore in the morning, and like a coffee shop and a bar in the afternoon with like a game room. I'm like, that would be perfect. That would be my ideal business. So I want to like, I'm a big proponent, as you're going to hear about joining businesses together. How do we merge businesses
Yeah.
to in a lot of small towns? A small business doesn't have enough business to make one storefront. So how do we take these micro businesses and make many storefronts out of them? So if you look at the SBA's definition of a small business, now that says you can have up to 1,500 employees and $38 million dollars in annual receipts. As I always say, that is one heck of an ice cream shop. Like what? Like that is no business downtown or in your neighborhoods or even on the outskirts of town. Your local landscaper, your freelance web designer. That no one is making that kind of money. But that is what the SBA's definition is. That is what most of our small business development programs are built for. Is these higher end, larger scalable businesses. When we look at our Main Street businesses, they are actually what's classified as micro businesses. These are less than 10 employees, generally just one, and we'll go into some stats in a minute. And these might be your storefront businesses, but these are also your home-based businesses. These are your ones that You have your home-based daycares. You have your jewelry makers that are making jewelry and they're selling it maybe at the farmers market or vendor fairs, or maybe they're supplying boutiques in town, or throughout your community. They might be some Etsy sellers. They might have e-commerce businesses that in your town. These are the businesses that are your Main Street businesses. They need websites. They can afford a $20,000 website from the marketing agency. So they're going to hire your local web designer. Those are your micro businesses that really make your town thrive and what make your community awesome. And as we'll talk about, really make your economy go. A lot of people will fight me on this, but I got stats to prove it. These are also your mobile businesses, like your mobile handyman, your mobile plumber, electrician. These are your food trucks. These are the micro businesses, and these are what you think of when you think of, as you said, the slice of Americana that make your main streets thrive. Like when you think back, maybe a lot of people, sadly, we don't have that main street that we had when we were growing up. We were growing up, we had the hardware store, we had the clothing store, we had the dime store. Remember the dime stores? Gosh, I used to love our little dime store. We used to walk uptown when we were in junior high and we'd buy penny candy at the dime store. Like, that's long gone. Um, so, what are those businesses now that make our downtowns great? Okay, so here's where I get to my stats. So, even though these businesses are small, they're teeny tiny, less than 10 employees, over 96% of all US businesses are micro businesses. Over 82% have zero employees, just the owner. Now, there might be some part-time employees there, might be some contract workers. That's a huge slice of the pie, right? And
Mm.
and just because they have these numbers, they also pack an economic impact. There was some studies done by GoDaddy in this Venture Forward research project that they have, and they found that each new microbusiness correlates to 7 new jobs created countywide. Doesn't mean that those microbusinesses are creating them, but they just saw a correlation where anytime new microbusinesses were recorded, more jobs are recorded as well. We
Mm.
also found that the more micro businesses you have, the more your median income raises for everyone, not just the micro business owner. It's across the county, across the board. So those micro businesses really make an impact. And the way as we dove into these numbers and then started looking at the communities that we work with, we started looking at this and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a real thing. And we started tracking and looking at examples of when a micro business grows in a town, that how much it impacts the community. So we call this the micro business flywheel. I'm a huge dork. I started my career as a research scientist. I managed research labs, University of Illinois. I was a science writer for years, wrote curriculum. So anytime I can use my business partners go, really? A flywheel? Is that what? I'm kind of dorky. I'll add some dorky stuff in there. That's why our we have a weekly newsletter called the Micro Catalyst. Yeah, that's because I'm a science nerd. So if we look at this micro business flywheel, so if a micro business starts in your town, we take the example of Ashley. So Ashley, she lived in a small town and she was a hairstylist. So she would drive 20 minutes to another town because it was a bigger town, bigger salon. And so she drove there and that's where she worked. So that meant she got her gas there. She got her groceries there. She would spend her lunch there. She'd buy her lunch or do shopping over lunch. Well, then Ashley had children and she decided, you know what? I don't want to be gone so long and I want a more flexible schedule. So she decided to start a salon in her house. So what did she do? So she came back home. She hired the local handyman, a micro business owner. She hired a couple other people to help her get the salon ready in her house. Now she's home. She's spending her money locally. She's not driving to another town. She now those clients that used to drive from her town to the other town are now staying in town. Those other the clients she had in that town are now driving to her town, and now they're buying gas there, and now they're stopping for lunch and going to the local boutique. She's now hiring help. Now she's not probably going to hire an employee. She needs a website, and like we talked before, these micro businesses, they can't afford the $20,000 website design from the local marketing agency. And it's not the marketing agency's fault. They can't make money doing that. Their business model is for your larger employers. So that local freelance web designer is perfect. They're a micro business owner and they're serving micro business owners. She might hire somebody to take care of to clean her house. Even though she's working at home, she needs to get her house cleaned. So she might know another micro business owner that's going to clean her house. So she might hire a local social media manager. So she's now this micro business. She's helping other micro businesses make money and grow. She's meeting the needs of the community. And now her business is growing. All that money is staying back in her community. So Ashley, after a few years, her kids got older and they went to school. Her business has grown. Her neighbors are getting a little put out because she has traffic, like people parking on the street all the time. So she's like, if I want to get bigger and I want to grow, and people are asking for nails and they're asking for facials, I'm going to have to grow this thing. So she finds a little spot, empty building downtown. And so she hires somebody else, a local micro business, to come in and remodel it for her. She has her chair. She's now brought on a nail tech, another stylist to handle the overflow, and an esthetician a couple days a week in her town. She's now has other micro businesses in her space. Then she realizes, I've got all this room up front. My sister-in-law makes awesome jewelry, and she sells it at a boutique in another town, and she has an Etsy shop. I wonder how she'll do here. So she sets up a spot there, so she starts selling jewelry. Then she finds out, whenever another client, she goes, I'm starting a t-shirt business, like real cool, like feminine graphic tees. Can I sell them there? So now she has micro business incubating in the front of her business, retail, and then she's got services in the back. She's now made this spot downtown. More women are coming downtown. She's hiring more people. She has a front desk person that is handling the retail and doing bookings. And she's hired somebody to help clean. She now has this where she is that one business. That one, Ashley decided to come home and open that one micro business. And now, because she was helped, we'll talk about that too. She's now made all this economic impact happen. And that was just from helping that one micro business owner over the years and to help more micro business owners like her. So I love that. And just think of that. That could happen over and over and over in your community. It just doesn't have to be one person. So here are some of the challenges people like Ashley face. So these are this stat comes from GoDaddy as well. Um, when they surveyed micro business owners, they asked them about the help available in their community. 70% of people said there's no help available in their community, which we have regional SBDCs. We have there's people in there's probably business coaches, there's mentors in your community that would love to help you. The chamber, the city probably has some sort of workshops now and then, but they're not reaching these people because these people don't think it's for them because they're just a tiny business or they don't think they're a real business yet. They don't think they qualify. They don't think they're big enough. Another problem is, especially for new entrepreneurs, they think someone's going to steal their business idea. And so they don't want to tell anybody about it. So they're going to Google all the options and they're going to try to figure it out themselves. And I've been an entrepreneur for 25 years, run all kinds of different businesses. We are a stubborn DIY lot. We are going to try to figure it out ourselves. Honestly, you guys, Dave and Jane are laughing. Yes, we're going to we're going to try to figure it out ourselves to our detriment many times. And when I think back when we started businesses, no one really showed us how. And gosh, it would have been nice to know what support systems were available. We could have saved ourselves a lot of time, a lot of money. We could have been a lot more successful or successful quicker had we known about those options. Many
Marci, do
times,
you think do you
yeah,
think one thing we run into is they don't know what help they need, right? Like they
right.
they come to you and they just say, "Well, we need money." Well, money is
Yes,
weird, right? Like because it's like, well, I can't just write you a check, but I could help
right.
help market you. Why do you need the money for, right? So
Right.
I think a lot of times the challenge is actually digging into what it is they need, but they don't know. They've never run a business, so they don't know what they need necessarily. Do you find that
Oh
um,
my goodness.
challenging?
So we used to help when we ran things for local communities when we first started Smart Start. We would come in and people just, I'm like, what do you need? Money? What for? Well, I just need money. I'm going to start a business. That's the first thing I
Yeah.
need, right? Like I don't know. What are you going to buy? What are you going to spend it on? What do what do you sell? Who are you selling it to? So, and that's kind of why, and we can dig in that too. And we saw that problem the more we tried to help people and the more we talked to communities and the more, we were just helping businesses. That's why we designed Smart Start. We have our online platform that many communities, like here in Peoria County, Illinois, Muscatine, Iowa, when we were there, did it then they have micro grant programs. But to get your money, you have to go through our Smart Start program so that you know who your customer is. Do you have something that your customer will actually buy? Do you need an LLC? Do you have an LLC? Do you have the right insurance? Do you have those things? Um, I think it's a danger. I was spoke at the Main Street America conference last week, and people in our group, we just had a great. It was just a big workshop, and it was fantastic. We all chatted and talked and shared ideas, and we had a few people that were very proud, rightly so. They had a great like pitch competition. Okay, great. And they were giving away all this money. I'm like, great, what's your success rate? How many of those businesses still open in a year? And they said, well, we don't know because, it's not up to, we just give them the money. And I'm like, without that, if they don't know what to do with the money, don't give it to them. They're going to
Yeah.
waste it. And then they're going to feel it's going to be bad. It's going to make the organization look bad. It's going to make that business owner look bad. You need to put everyone in the best position to win. And by giving them those basics, that's how we can do that.
We ran a program in West Texas like that, and it got to be where our building owners would not lease to a small business unless they'd gone through a similar program,
Right.
right? Because
Yeah.
he's like, he got tired of remodeling the business, the storefront for the next new,
The
business.
revolving door.
Yeah, and once they started going through it, I mean, he was seeing 2 and 3 year, they were making it past that second and third
Yeah.
year because they'd gone through and identified all the things you talked about. Like
Right.
they had a system or a support. Um, they knew where to go for support depending on what they needed. So yeah, I
Right.
love that.
Right. And like you made a great point. It's not just, okay, here's your checklist of things to do. Here's the people in your community that can help you do it.
Yeah.
Here's the people, we have people, Peoria County is so Peoria is a metro area, 100,000 folks or so, but outside very, very rural. So our program is for the whole county. And on the part of the dashboard where it talks about taxes and bookkeeping. So they wanted to link to local accountants. So great. So we actually, since we are geared toward micro businesses and small businesses, we actually called 60 accountants in all Peoria County. Five of them said that they would work with micro businesses.
Wow.
So
Out of the
it's
60.
it's to getting people to the right person because back in the day we owned a construction company, ran millions of dollars to the construction company. I had another business where I was a science author, curriculum writer. I went to our accountant. I'm like, so how do I do? I need an LLC? Do I whatever? And he's like, if you're not making $3 million, just put it under you're a sole proprietor. I don't even want to talk about it. That's what this corporate accountant told me to do. And I'm like, I don't think that's right. It took me 3 years and a bunch of phone calls to finally find someone. So that was my personal story. And we owned other businesses. How do people who have never owned a business, if you don't
Yeah.
vet those people for them? So that is part of what our program is, not just the education, but okay, you need an accountant. Okay, you need the right accountant or bookkeeper. A lot of times you don't need an accountant, you just need a bookkeeper. We here and in throughout the Midwest here, we have a couple really good freelance bookkeepers that we send people to that they do programs for our local SBDC. That's who we send our micro business owners to. So that's part of it too. It's not just like here's how to do it. Here's your support system
Right.
around
Love that.
that. Yes. So this is like we talked about. like here, went to the wrong organization. It's sometimes going to the wrong person. I went to the wrong accountant for help. I didn't know that. Sometimes people will go to the chamber, and this is why we get brought into communities by the chamber a lot because people will go to the chambers. Our chambers are awesome at supporting the businesses that are already existing and to provide services and programs for them. Many times they don't have the staff or the knowledge when someone comes in, I want to start a business. How do I do that? And if they don't have a local SBDC or something like that, they won't go to anyone else. The business owner's like, well, I went to them and they didn't help me. Well, you didn't go to the right people, but they didn't know that. Or if they go to the city and the city's like, I get calls from like a city clerk, a small town city clerk here. She's like, I'm a part-time city clerk. We don't have anything in our town. What do I do? So you just got to be able to like give these. Our idea is to give the communities resources so that everyone in the community knows that this is the front door to the entrepreneur ecosystem for microbusinesses. So that all the information is going to be geared toward them. Another problem they have is the limited funding options. According to the that GoDaddy research project, the average microbusiness takes $3,500 to start. Most of them we deal with, 500 to 1,000. They need some inventory, some equipment. Bank's not going to loan that. SBA loans start at like 20 to $50,000 just starting. Banks don't make money on that. So these people have to go and they have to fund it through their savings or through a credit card. And that is hard for a lot of, just have to have the cash on hand. You can't get a loan. And that's with a lot of people that we deal with, they're starting this side hustle is what their microbusiness starts at. And they have families and they have student loans and they have mortgage. That's a big thing. How can we come beside them? Let's say, for instance, there was somebody that wanted to start a large business in one of the communities. They got a $250,000 loan, no problem. No money out of their pocket because the city gave them TIF funds for down payment. Meanwhile, we had 5 or 6 micro business owners that just needed $500 a piece, couldn't get a loan, couldn't get the money. And the city gave them, $30,000, but wouldn't give them 500. That's the kind of thing that we're trying to educate people. How do we get those? Like Ashley, she took a loan from her parents to to remodel her house. And then I'm not sure but they took out money, I think against their mortgage, to redo the salon downtown. If she wouldn't have had that family to help or had some of your
Right.
community help, she wouldn't have been able to do that. So it's about meeting those challenges, helping micro businesses with these challenges, and that's what we've designed SmartStart for. That's over the last 4 years that we see this need that we see the importance of micro businesses in our community for both the economic impact, for the quality of place, and we see that gap. And so everything we do is trying to fill that gap and try to help communities do that better so that they can truly reach those people. And so that's what our whole business model is about.
Okay.
So I didn't want to, you told me 10 minutes, Dave. So I
Yeah,
just
yeah, you're fine. So I think, um, let's talk a little bit. I mean, like, all right, so I need to
because I can
solve
talk
that.
all day. So I
Yeah,
can
yeah,
talk
no.
all
So I
day,
think,
but we're
yeah,
at the point where either we stop,
I think let's
we go, or
we'll
we
open it up
can,
for questions.
yeah,
I'll ask one real quick one, right? Like, so okay, so it's a funding issue. How do you or have you seen communities? How do you do that, right? Because
right,
you know, it's risky, right? That's what you're really doing. The banks don't loan on it because it's risky.
right.
There's not enough profit there. So how have you seen some examples of communities that put together some sort of fund, like a
Mhm.
revolving loan fund,
Yeah,
micro business loan fund that, that's publicly supported, not just a privately,
yeah.
or are they leveraging, setting up, building a private sort of thing for this? How could someone start tomorrow if they wanted to, like, hey, we get it, we love this, we're going to start tomorrow. What would that look like?
Right. So we have seen a few things. We've seen a couple communities apply. There's a USDA grant that can be specifically used in rural communities, can be used for to create a revolving loan or micro grant program. I can't remember what the name of that is, but
Okay.
there's one specifically for that. We have seen here in Peoria County, there was, I think, or Tazewell County, one of the counties. They got a big grant that was a power plant closed down. So they had this money that needed to go into economic development. So it was from the state, so they decided to make this revolving loan fund with this economic development dollars. Also in Peoria County, so that's going away. So we're helping with that. So a community fund came to us and like, um, how can we bridge that gap? How can we create this revolving loan fund with this money that we have and make it a revolving loan? They're actually working through another organization to do another lender to do that, but it was a community foundation. They put up $250,000. They don't mean like, oh, okay. Like there are community funds. I know out in Kansas, there's a community fund. I can't remember what that's called either, but they have started putting the feelers out. What would this look like? And again, they want to make microloans, micro grants, but they want it to be vetted. And that's kind of the kicker, the
Right.
key. That's what these people, but we have
Yeah.
seen this through those different grants, through community foundations. Um, in Morton, Illinois, they have microloans, and that comes from their EDC, the dues that communities or that the large employers pay to the EDC. A certain percentage of that is set aside for a certain amount of microbusiness grants each year. So
Okay.
that's a small community that does it. That's like 15,000 people. So there's just some creative things that you can do in a community that we found that they do for microloan programs and to pay for business support programs.
So is it that when you're talking about the education piece, I know that's part of what your platform does, but if a community is doing some of that could be done through SCORE or SBDC type, it's really um it's a programmatic, right? Like it's okay, first is like, hey, you got to get your finances, how are you going to track stuff? It's sort of
Right.
step by step, and then when you get at the end, now you've kind of got a well-rounded, not necessarily
Right.
business plan, but you've got the
You've got a foundation.
yeah, foundation. Thank you.
Right.
And that's what you're really asking before you get to the grant part.
Right. We
And
just want them to have that. They don't have to have a full business plan, depending on what they should be able then to apply to the grant. They should have all their ducks in a row that they can actually apply. We were seeing people just saying, "Oh yeah, I have that," and they didn't have that. Like
right.
now we're like, how can they prove that? We find with like our micro businesses, even when an SBDC like is very like makes themselves known. Like we can email our people that are on the data that are on our online platform, and we can email them, "Hey, the SBDC in your area is available." Rarely do people go to them because they still don't think they're ready.
Yeah.
So this is what we found in our numbers. We were just crunching them over the communities that we've been in hundreds and hundreds of business owners. We have found that pretty much 50-50 are new business owners that are just have an idea. 50% were business owners that just want to make sure they had a good foundation. We found like those Main Street businesses that some of them don't have the right insurance. Their building's insured. That's all I need, right? They didn't know like the different other kinds of insurance that they needed. They didn't know that they should probably get a bookkeeper, get a tax accountant. They didn't these just things that they don't know. They didn't have the proper business entity. So it's like 50-50. But we also found out that 50% that we need to, and in the future, we're going to ask different questions. We're going to frame this differently when they sign up. So when they come to our platform, they create their own accounts so they can walk through the steps and they can keep track of where they're at in their steps and who they've contacted and all that. So, but we give them a little questionnaire so we can understand them better. And of that 50% that were just that early stage or idea stage entrepreneur, 80% of those we did two sample communities where the we asked the admins of the program in those communities, Do you know these people? Did you know that they were going to start a business? 80%, they had no idea. This was the first time that it was 80% of them was the first time that they actually asked for support anywhere. They had never attended another business seminar or webinar or workshop. They had never gone to SBDC. They had Googled, but so we're really reaching, this is something that can reach those people that are unreachable and that don't feel like they can go anywhere else yet. And that, as I feel, we talked about, before we got on air, that there's some things that you feel anecdotally, but then when you see the numbers, you're like, "Ah, that's, I felt that that's what was happening. And now to see those numbers that we are reaching those micro business owners that were not reached before.
I'm
And
always surprised. I speak at some small business things for like 10K SB, and so I'm speaking to small business owners and who've gone through the program, and these are,
yeah,
these aren't just startups. These are people who have a business, been in business for a couple of years, making, 500,000 and up.
yep.
And I'm asking that question. I was like, well, we have this economic, that's why I'm there speaking about economic development. And they will argue with me that their community doesn't have that. And I'm like, no, no, no. I promise you, we're in Texas. I would almost 99.95% guarantee you, you have, I'm like, I know the person, right? And they're
Right,
arguing with me, oh, no, no, we don't know anything about that. And so it's kind of interesting because if you ask the economic development, we're like, well, we do a lot of marketing toward business retention and outreach to small business. And we have the
right,
website programs and we have this
right.
stuff. And yet there's still this disconnect somehow
Yes.
that and I wish I had a better solution. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's just something you have to continuously tell people you're there and that that you're there to help and there are resources.
Right.
It's kind of fascinating, I think, and I don't know if you see this in your numbers, but I find that um, more often than not it's women entrepreneurs who are waiting and don't think they're ready soon enough, right? Like
Right.
I laugh. I'm like, you give a guy like 30% chance, he's gonna take it. Like I know about 30%, I'm gonna go for it.
Yes.
You take
Yes.
the, you take a, my wife would be a perfect example of this. She would need to be 99.95%
Mm-hmm.
sure she's got everything figured out before she'll even think about starting.
Oh, right.
And that is such an interesting thing, I think, for communities and having to deal with that and how it's not just knowing that you're there to help, but inspiring them that they can do it
Right.
and that they're ready. Like even if you don't have it all figured out, there's a support system and
Uh,
you should go for it, right? We need you to go for it.
yes. I swear that, especially in the first years, I would say, and I would have the people in the community tell us this because we would go now, our remote communities, we're teaching this to do this, what we've already done on the ground. And we would go to workshops or we would go to different events and they were like, oh my gosh, we just need somebody to cheer us on and believe in us. I'm like, you have people here that did that, but they didn't feel it.
Yeah,
There's something about, I just had this conversation with somebody earlier today, right sizing. When they feel that the the support is right sized for them and they
right.
feel like it's easier to grasp, they feel like it's more for them and they will take it. And they feel like, oh my gosh, yes, now I can do this. Then, but it's about that right sizing and building that relationship, cheering them on, keeping that, and we find that in different aspects that, we have a couple of programs that we do too that is more online cohort based. And gosh, those people, it's mostly women. Um, but when they get that cohort of people, their people around them, that's when they thrive. But you gotta get them off the sidelines first. You gotta, and that's
So
and that's difficult.
the other thing I think that could be challenging is changing the mindset of what economic development is in a community. And like we're a lot of times in especially in Texas, we're built around job creation and capital
Mhm.
investment.
Oh
and
yeah.
and so you know we're oftentimes we're stretched thin, right? It's one
Mhm.
person trying to do all of these different things, and
Right.
there's only so many resources to go around from a time standpoint. So it can be challenging when someone comes in. I mean, I can't imagine if a hairdresser coming into an economic development office and saying, I need help to get started. Because
Right.
like that, we're not built to like, sorry, like, I mean, I can
No.
give you some marketing. I can tell you how many people in town need their hair cut, right? Like I can give you some demographic
Right.
marketing information.
Yes. Yes.
But, the hairdresser knows that, right? That's why she's so, I
Right.
mean, that is such a fascinating and shift in it's got to be a very intentional program of the city or of the organization, right? Like it can't
Right.
it I think that's what you're saying or and I don't know
And
if you have
the
any tips
and
for
the KPIs are different. And I don't think I
yes.
had the KPIs on a slide deck, but you know what? Let me be very unprofessional and go through this and see if they're in the slide deck because I have a couple different. No, they're not on the slide deck. I'm sorry.
That's fair.
Um,
Well, you might go back to the next steps or the key takeaways, just kind of leave those up there if you
yeah,
want.
yeah. These are well, what we've seen. The KPIs so generally for economic development, they are like job creation, capital investment,
Yeah.
businesses created. Those are the things that because you're bringing businesses in or retaining big businesses. That's what those are the general KPIs. So we found when we would go into communities, they're like, well, how many businesses did you start? You ran this a whole year. I'm like, well, as I said, so let's say, Dave, you make fishing lures. Okay. You make really good flies. Okay. And you make them for you, you make them for your family and friends, right? So somebody comes up to you in church and says, you know what? I really want one of those flies. I'll give you $10. Okay. So you sell a fly. Well, then other people start good. So you start selling to more people. And then pretty soon you're like, you know what? I wonder if I could sell these online. So you sell them online. You put them on whatever your website or some other website. I wonder if I could sell these at the bait shop down the way. So you're gonna go sell them down there. Finally, you're like, somebody invites you to a trade fair or to be in a large business, but they're like, you need an LLC. You're like, oh, I didn't know that. So you get your LLC. When did your business start?
Oh, that's a great question. That's so good. Right? Hey, if I've got a product and I gotta sell, that's a business. Right?
See? But
Yeah.
for EDC, they want to know LLCs. It's LLCs. But they've been making money. There's people in your community without an LLC making bank on the
Yeah.
side. Like, but they don't count. They don't, and they're not hiring people, so they don't count for job creation. So those programs, like when we go in a community and we launch a program, and at the end of the year we give them our stats, how many people got on the dashboard, how many people contacted an attorney or whoever, we can kind of track that. But how many jobs you create? Well, these
So do
people
you
are making
do
money. So it's
you
just a shift.
how do you we just had a conference on this 2 weeks ago now, I think, or maybe it was last week. I don't know. It's been a blur around the outdoor recreation economy for
Hmm.
that very reason, right? Like what we're talking about is economic activity that you're tracking. Okay, so you got a
Right.
kayak guy. He rents 15, 20 kayaks every weekend, but those 15 or 20 people are driving in, within a 45 minute, from
Right.
45 minutes out, and they're taking a 2 hour trip. Well, they usually pick up coffee once they get there, so they're having
Hmm.
coffee while they're getting their kayak ready. And then when they're done, they're coming off the river and having a beer at the local Main Street,
Right.
restaurant, bar and grill,
It's the
whatever.
flywheel.
Yeah. So, but how do you track that? That is the thing. Like because
Right.
the only thing that the kayak guy tracks is how many people he puts on the river, right? And
Right.
there's like so maybe part of the thing is it's like how do you put dye into the system so that you can track where it goes,
Right.
right?
We're
Like I
actually,
know there was a military base where people were kind of griping and so the commander like either gave everybody gold coins or dollar coins or $2 bills or something. He paid all of his employee or all of the payroll. He put that out, and so you could see then the ripple effect. So I
right.
always liken that to like where somebody puts dye into your system so they can
Right.
track
Where's it
where it
go?
goes, where's the blockage.
Right.
How do you do? I mean, do you have? Is there?
We
Have you seen people
actually,
doing that successfully?
this is something that, so we met, there's a data analyst, Jen O'Brien. She's out in Kansas City.
Oh yeah, I think I know
And
her.
And she's fantastic. We met her at the Missouri CEC conference last year, and we've been working on with her. And basically, actually, we're trying to get a grant so that we can pay her. So she's got this whole business, like this study planned on how to best track microbusiness activity
Yeah.
and economic impact.
Okay.
So we don't know. So we're like, how do we get that? We've been talking with researchers at the University of Missouri. We've been talking to them at University of Wisconsin. And it's just, we're all thinking the same thing because we're all having this realization about microbusinesses at the same time. Okay, we have these programs. Okay, we know anecdotally, and I know like these things are working, but how do we like systemically, how holistically, where's it all going? So to your point, we
Okay.
don't know, and she has a whole business thing. So if you know anyone that is wants to do an EDC grant for microbusiness for that, we are looking for one to
You need a
so that
beta
she can
tester,
finish
right?
this.
You need someone to test the system.
Yes, yes, she has a whole thing. You know, we paid her to do the study outline and like what it would look like, and we're like, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
But
Now we need a place to pull the trigger on, right?
right, right. So that's so yeah, so but it's something that we have to, especially if something is grant funded, that you have to have the numbers to back it up. And when you're like, I don't know what those numbers are, that's kind of hard, but you can see it anecdotally. That's why we look at the flywheel, and that's why we do a lot of storytelling. Here's here's what you can see. These people are they're staying in their communities because they have a micro business. They've, hired more people, or they're contracting more people, or they've expanded. They haven't closed. That's huge. And for some people that come through our program, they don't open. That's huge because their idea was not sustainable. Not saying that they can't tweak it, but they didn't open it when they were come to us. Oh, we're going to open a downtown store. Great, let's go through our program first. And then they realize, yeah, we would have lost our shirts. Okay, we need to do something differently. That's a win too. That doesn't show up on KPIs, but we count that as a win as well. And that might be
Okay.
somebody down the road that then a few years they're like, oh, now they know what kind of business to look for. And they know how to test those things because they went through the process. And the next business idea they have might be fantastic. It might be very sustainable.
Well, Marcy, this has been a great conversation.
Yeah,
Gosh, I love doing this. I love the opportunity to share, with our network. Great, inspiring activity around what we're talking about and the helping
right,
economic developers help small business owners because I believe, like most people in America, I think believe that small business owners are truly the foundation of future success and really the heart of a community. Whenever I go into communities and talk, they're often, they don't want to lose their identity and they talk about that.
right,
They want to protect it as they grow. And one great way to do that is by helping small businesses grow and thrive
right,
and create that sort of small town feel that we were talking about, the mom and pop
right.
shops. That's that's the identity I think people are trying to hang
Right.
on to. So
And that's
thank you
that's
for
how that's how they you want to, if you are an economic developer, we're talking about how you want to bring businesses in. No business is going to come into a town that's dead or dying, and they need a workforce. That small town identity and those businesses are going to give people a reason to stay. It's
Yeah, I
all
love
part
it.
of
It's
that
it's the fertile
larger
soil
picture.
it's the fertile
I
soil that
love that.
the new businesses,
Yes.
get planted in, and I
I love
love that
that.
too. So thank you guys. Thanks for joining us today. Marcy, I really appreciate it.
Thank
If
you.
people wanted to reach out, learn more about your program and what you're doing, where can they go to get more information about you?
Well, I think I have it. Here we go. So you can subscribe to our Micro Catalyst newsletter through our website. Go to smartstartcommunity.com. Connect with me, Marci Goodwin, on LinkedIn. I post there all the time about stories, and that's what our newsletter is. We talk about stats and stories and what other people are doing, and just tips on how to grow your micro business community. So that's a great way. I'd love to just chat with you and hear about what you guys are doing with micro businesses or how we can help you better serve them.
All right, Marcy, thank you so much. Thanks for sharing
Thanks.
your knowledge with us today. Folks, thank
Thank
you for
you.
joining us here on Success from Day One. I'm your host, Super Dave Quinn, and until next time, let's make it a great day.